Real Madrid have spent billions chasing footballing greatness, but does spending big guarantee the best players? Well, today we'll explore the stories of the club's 15 most expensive signings, why they were worth the massive fees, how they performed for Los Blancos, and whether they delivered glory or flopped. Starting with someone who many believed was robbed of the Ballon d'Or, Vinicius Jr. However, his Real Madrid career at one point looked to be over. It all began in 2017 when Real Madrid made waves by committing £39 million to sign a 16-year-old Brazilian from Flamengo. At the time, many questioned the absurdity of such a high price tag for someone so inexperienced. But Real Madrid saw the future. Vinicius had raw talent mixed with that unmistakable Brazilian flair. He represented their new transfer strategy of assembling a squad built around the most promising young talent football had to offer. The total opposite of the Galacticos, which we will get onto shortly. However, the road for Vinicius wasn't easy. His immense potential was clear, but his performances often left fans and sometimes even teammates frustrated. One moment in particular encapsulated just how bad things got. During a Champions League game in 2020, Karim Benzema was caught on camera telling a teammate that Vinicius was playing against us, due to the Brazilian constantly giving the ball away and just all round playing more as a 12th man for the opposition. Now, criticism like that could have broken a young player, but not Vinicius. He kept working, kept learning, and then in the 21-22 season, everything changed. Under Carlo Ancelotti, Vini finally put all the pieces of the puzzle together. His finishing improved dramatically, his decision making sharpened, and he became one of the most dangerous forwards in football. That season he scored 22 goals and provided 20 assists across all competitions, with his defining moment coming in the Champions League final against Liverpool, where his composed finish won Madrid their 14th European title. He had completed his journey from villain to hero. Since then, things have only gotten better for Vini Jr, cementing himself amongst the best in the world and as Madrid's main man, which is topped off with the fact that he is also their new number 7, following in the footsteps of Cristiano Ronaldo. And as I said, in 2024, Vini came tantalizingly close to winning the Ballon d'Or, but missed out to Rodri, vowing to try 10 times harder next time. And so overall, was the £39 million gamble worth it? Absolutely, as Vinicius has made himself into a £100 million minimum asset already at the age of just 24. However, he wasn't the only Brazilian teenager that Real Madrid spent big on, as following a £40 million transfer in 2018, they signed Rodrygo. They saw him, like Vini Jr, as a generational talent, and after finally joining in 2019, Rodrygo wasted no time in making an impression, scoring on his La Liga debut just a minute after coming onto the pitch. Soon after, he became the second youngest player to score a Champions League hat-trick, doing so against Galatasaray, proving that he could perform on the biggest stage. This only continued as over the years, Rodrygo became Madrid's go-to player for clutch moments. In 2022, he scored twice in the dying minutes of a Champions League semi-final against Manchester City, forcing extra time and helping Madrid complete one of their greatest comebacks ever, as well as one of the most iconic moments in the club's history, on top of other crucial game-winning goals as well. As a result, Rodrygo has already cemented himself as a cult hero for Real Madrid. The question is, can he take it that one step further? Well, at just 23 years old, the best years may still be ahead of him, but will they be in Spain? Despite denying any interest of wanting to leave Los Blancos, with the likes of Vini Jr, Kylian Mbappe, and also the latest Brazilian wonder kid to enter the scene, Endrick, all competing for places in the same team, perhaps there's a future for him elsewhere. Let me know what you think in the comments below. The Brazilian ballers don't stop there though, as they also dropped £43.5 million on centre-back Eder Militao. In 2019, he came in from Porto, as Real Madrid saw him as the future of their defence. Initially, Militao played a supporting role behind the likes of Sergio Ramos and Rafael Varane, but his moment came in 2021 when both left the club. Thus, he stepped up, forming a solid partnership with David Alaba, becoming a key player in Madrid's La Liga and Champions League winning 21-22 season. Then in 2023, Militao continued to shine, winning the Copa del Rey, UEFA Super Cup, and even scoring against Liverpool in the Champions League. However, his career career took a dark turn with back-to-back ACL injuries in 2023 and 2024, sidelining him for 2 seasons. Despite these setbacks, Real Madrid showed faith by extending his contract until 2028 with a £1 billion release clause, proving just how much they value him. Nonetheless, his career is now at a crossroads. Either he will put the injuries behind him and become one of Madrid's all-time great centre-backs, or fade into the background as an injury-prone what-if player. He wasn't the only defensive reinforcement brought in by Madrid to improve their backline in the future though, as up next is, I think, one of Real Madrid's most underrated players, Ferland Mendy. In June 2019, Real Madrid signed him from Lyon for roughly £44 million, seeing Mendy is the ideal long-term replacement for Marcelo, combining defensive solidity with attacking potential. What's remarkable is his rise from overcoming a childhood injury that nearly ended his career to being arguably one of the best 1v1 defenders in his position. Thus, Mendy was crucial for Zidane's record-breaking 1920 defense, which conceded the fewest goals in Real Madrid's La Liga history, ultimately winning the title. However, one of Mendy's standout moments came in the 21-22 Champions League semi-final against Manchester City. With just minutes left, he made a dramatic goal line clearance to deny Jack Grealish, setting the stage for their insane comeback. And so, whilst injuries have limited his availability at times, Mendy has established himself as a very reliable left-back who often goes unnoticed despite his qualities. Now, this next move is way too early to tell on whether or not they're a success. However, in 2022, Real Madrid made a statement transfer by securing Endrick, Brazil's hottest young talent from Palmeiras, for a reported £52 million including taxes. At just 16 years old, Endrick was already being hailed as a future superstar, and despite not being able to officially bring him in until he turned 18 in July 2024, Madrid acted quickly to beat out Europe's biggest clubs to the move. Now fast forward a bit to Endrick's Madrid debut in August 2024, where he wasted no time in making history. Subbed on late against Real Valladolid, he scored, becoming the youngest foreigner to ever score for Madrid in La Liga. Then just a month later, he netted in his Champions League debut against Stuttgart, setting another record as Madrid's youngest scorer in the competition. However, after 4 months of the 24-25 season, Endrick has only managed 170 minutes on the pitch for Real Madrid and hasn't started a single game at the time I'm writing this. It's too early to just write him off though. It seems more and more likely that he's going to be loaned out next before making the impact that Los Blancos expect he is capable of in the future. Talking of the future, all of the signings so far have pretty much been for then, but this next transfer was much different, because in 2000 Real Madrid made one of the most shocking and controversial transfers in football history by signing Luis Figo from their bitter rivals Barcelona. Now, I'm not gonna lie, some sources say this move is £37 million, some say 54. Let me know in the comments which is closer. What matters though is this wasn't just a signing, it was a statement of intent by Florentino Perez, who had just been elected as Madrid's president. Figo, already one of the best players in the world, was the jewel in Barcelona's crown, and Perez thought to himself, I want myself some of that. And so, the Galacticos era of Real Madrid was born. Figo's incredible vision, pinpoint crossing, and ability to dictate games from the wing made him an instant success at the Santiago Bernabeu, as in his debut season he lived up to the hype, winning the 2000 Ballon d'Or and helping Madrid reclaim the La Liga title. Over his 5 years at the club, Figo won 2 La Liga titles, 2 Supercopa de Españas, and the Champions League. However, as you'd expect, this move wasn't without the controversy. Barcelona fans famously greeted his return to the Camp Nou by throwing a pig's head onto the pitch. However, in the end, Figo left Real Madrid, joining Inter Milan. Nonetheless, his career in Spain already cemented his legacy as one of the greatest wingers of all time, and despite the animosity from Barcelona fans, his impact in Spain is remembered as iconic and legendary. And so you can't ask for much more than that from a bank-breaking signing. The same, however, could not be said about Luka Jovic. Real Madrid signed him in the summer of 2019 for a whopping £52 million, hoping, like Militao, Vini, Rodrygo, etc., he would be the future of their team. part of their young Galacticos per se. After all, the Serbian striker had just scored 27 goals for Eintracht Frankfurt, and so it made sense why he was lined up to eventually replace Karim Benzema. However, Jovic's time at Madrid didn't quite go as planned. He struggled to adapt to the team's style and couldn't find any consistency, scoring just 3 goals in 51 appearances. Thus, it should come as a surprise to nobody that in 2022, Madrid cut their losses, letting Jovic move to Fiorentina on a free transfer. And well, just look at his Wikipedia entry for his time in Florence. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, this guy's kinda stinky. After just 1 year there, he moved on to AC Milan on another free transfer, signing a 1-year contract, and well, it's safe to say that he's never gonna become the striker that Real Madrid hoped they were signing. We move back to the Galacticos though next, as in 2009, Real Madrid made waves by signing a Brazilian superstar Kaka from AC Milan for an eye-watering £60 million, making him the most expensive player in the world at the time, though only for a few weeks until Cristiano Ronaldo joined, but more on him soon. Like CR7 though, Kaka was already a Ballon d'Or winner and one of the best players on the planet, thus Madrid saw him as a key piece in their Galacticos 2.0 project. But despite being one of the most entertaining to watch and technically gifted players of his generation, Kaka's time at Real Madrid didn't quite live up to the hype. Injuries disrupted his rhythm and he struggled to find his best form in a team loaded from back to front with talent. And whilst he had flashes of brilliance, he never quite reached the same levels he showed at Milan. Over 4 seasons, he scored 29 goals in 120 appearances, which for a player of his caliber felt a bit underwhelming to many, ultimately ending with a free transfer back to Milan in 2013. Overall, his Madrid spell wasn't a total disaster like Jovic. However, with the expectations being a lot higher, you could argue it was more disappointing. Much like James Rodriguez. After all, Real Madrid splashed out a massive 63 million quid to sign him from Monaco after James lit up the 2014 World Cup, winning the Golden Boot with 6 goals, including that iconic volley against Uruguay. At just 22 years old, he was seen to be the next big thing, and at first, the move looked to be a success. James scored 17 goals and provided 18 assists across all competitions, becoming a fan favourite at the club. But after Carlo Ancelotti left in 2015, he struggled to find any consistent form under the new managers, only made worse by injuries and competition from stars like Isco and Luka Modric, limiting his minutes further. Because of this, James was loaned to Bayern Munich, where he had moments of brilliance, but again he didn't quite rediscover his peak. Thus, when he returned to Madrid in 2019, he remained on the fringes before leaving permanently for Everton in 2020 to rejoin with Carlo Ancelotti. Yeah, I still can't believe that happened. Nonetheless, this is a signing that wasn't just sad for Real Madrid fans, but football fans in general. I mean, damn, James was meant to be the one. He was meant to be their new Zinedine Zidane. You see, in 2001, Real Madrid shattered records to sign him from Juventus for a staggering £70 million, making Zidane the most expensive footballer in history at the time. And so, like you'd expect for a player of that price and quality, Zidane was the crown jewel of the Galacticos era. After all, he had already won the World Cup and the Ballon d'Or, and it wouldn't take long before Zidane made memories in the white shirt, as in his first season he delivered one of the most iconic moments in football history, scoring a goal so breathtaking it's often called the greatest in Champions League history. However, there's a couple still to come up that might have something to say about that. Nonetheless, the following years were also a great success for Zidane, before eventually playing in his farewell match in May 2006, where Madrid fans unveiled a banner reading, "Thanks for the magic." You have to be a truly special player to get that kind of love from the supporters of the Santiago Bernabeu. And so the squad also honoured Zidane with commemorative shirts, with him going on to score in the 3-3 draw. But possibly the most incredible twist to his Madrid story was that it wasn't over. He returned to Madrid as a coach, leading them to 3 consecutive Champions League titles between 2016 and 2018. Then, after poor performances, Zidane later returned as a manager in 2019, replacing Julian Lopetegui. He swiftly won the Supercopa de España and the La Liga title. However, after going trophyless the following season, he once again resigned from his role. Nonetheless, Zidane's history as both a player and manager for Los Blancos makes him one of, if not their greatest signing in history. But perhaps this chap would have something to say about that, as in 2009, Real Madrid once again smashed the world record transfer by signing Cristiano Ronaldo from Manchester United for £80 million. The Ballon d'Or winner's skill, marketability, and work ethic made him the perfect player to lead Real Madrid into a new era of footballing dominance. But even then, nobody could have anticipated just how insane this transfer turned out. He became the club's all-time leading scorer, netting 450 goals in just 438 appearances, all whilst delivering time and time again on the biggest stages, winning 4 Champions League titles with Real, including the 3 in a row, scoring one of the most iconic goals in the competition's history versus Juventus. In fact, he became so synonymous with the tournament that he became known as Mr. Champions League. What's more is that Ronaldo also won 2 La Liga titles, 3 UEFA Super Cups, and countless individual awards, including 4 Ballon d'Ors during his legendary spell at Real Madrid, where Ronaldo rightfully put himself up there as one of, if not the greatest players to ever play the game, creating a rivalry with Lionel Messi that defined an era of football. In spite of all this though, by 2018, cracks began to form in his relationship with Real Madrid. Ronaldo felt underappreciated by the club's hierarchy, particularly over financial matters. Thus, considering he also wanted a new challenge and had just won the Champions League again that year, Ronaldo shocked the footballing world by announcing his departure following a move to Juventus for around £100 million. There he continued to dominate, scoring over 100 goals for the club, whilst also winning 2 Serie A titles. However, the Champions League eluded Juventus during his time there, and so by 2021, with the financial issues mounting and the team struggling, Ronaldo decided to leave, rejoining Manchester United. And whilst it all felt like a fairy tale start, it all ended on one huge sour note when Ronaldo did a secret interview with Piers Morgan talking down about parts of the club, ultimately seeking to leave. Bringing us to now, where Ronaldo has become the footballing figurehead of Saudi Arabia's sporting revolution, still playing at the age of 40, where he's since become the highest scoring player in history with over 915 goals. However, it wouldn't be long before Real Madrid once again broke the bank for a Premier League superstar though, as in 2013 they dropped a then world record £85 million to sign Gareth Bale from Tottenham, hoping his pace, power and goal-scoring ability would complement Cristiano Ronaldo and help secure even more trophies. And at first, Bale didn't disappoint, delivering iconic moments that cemented his place in Madrid's history. His stunning solo goal against Barcelona in the 2014 Copa del Rey final and his decisive header in the Champions League final that same year helped the club claim their long-awaited La Decima. Then in 2018, Bale reached his peak in Madrid's famous 3-1 Champions League final win over Liverpool. Coming on during the second half, he scored twice, sealing the victory with what is to be the best goal scored during a Champions League final, and probably one of the most iconic goals in the history of the sport already. By this point, Bale had won 4 Champions League trophies and proven himself as one of the best big game players in the world. However, despite delivering in these key moments, cracks were beginning to show. Injuries disrupted his consistency, and he often found himself out of favour with managers like Zinedine Zidane. Bale's work rate and commitment were also questioned, especially in comparison to Ronaldo. His refusal to engage with fans or the media in Spanish made it harder for the supporters to then connect with him, whilst his passion for representing Wales seemed to overshadow his club career. The infamous Wales Golf Madrid in that order banner after a Wales match in 2019 became a symbol of what many Madrid fans saw as a lack of respect for the club. Thus, injuries combined with his sporadic performances made it harder for Madrid fans to forgive when he consistently delivered brilliant displays for Wales. It was as if his physical issues didn't seem to affect his ability to play for his country, leading to accusations that he was simply using Madrid as a training ground for international duty. All of this culminated in Bale's Madrid career ending in 2022, leaving behind a complicated legacy to say the least. On one hand, his 106 goals, 15 trophies including 5 Champions League titles, as well as some of the most important goals in Los Blancos history, places him amongst the club's all-time greats. But on the other hand, his perceived lack of commitment, long stretches of injuries, and apparent lack of care for the fans meant that Bale's time at Madrid is looked back on in disappointment a lot of the time. Nonetheless, I fucking love this guy. But hey, my opinion aside, Real Madrid also spent a whopping £85 million to sign Tchouameni from AS Monaco, making him one of the most expensive midfielders in history. At just 22 years old, he had already established himself as one of Europe's best young talents, hence why Real Madrid saw him as the perfect long-term replacement for Casemiro, part of their plan to transition from the legendary midfield trio of Casemiro, Modric and Kroos to the future. However, adapting to Real Madrid's intense expectations and playing style took a bit of time. Nonetheless, by his second season, Tchouameni began to show the world why he's considered one of the best young defensive midfielders, partnering seamlessly with other young Galacticos like Camavinga and Bellingham. And so, was he worth the £85 million? Well, that is a lot of money, and he is still young. That being said, if Tchouameni continues to grow at the rate that he's been going thus far, he will most certainly go down as a successful signing. The same you would expect to be said about Jude Bellingham. He cost Real Madrid £88.5 million. And so first off, why did they even want Bellingham that badly? Well, that's easy. He is a generational talent whether you like it or not. At only 20 years old, he wasn't just playing in midfield for Borussia Dortmund, he was running the show, becoming their youngest ever captain. Even before then, his time at Birmingham was a story unlike any other, where they even retired his shirt number after selling him. He's also got that incredibly vital clutch gene. Thus, Madrid saw him as the future of their midfield, representing their modern transfer philosophy. But of course, a talent like Jude wasn't going to be cheap. Why so much? Well, when you're battling the likes of Liverpool, Man City, and pretty much every top club in Europe for a player, the price skyrockets. And it wasn't just the hype. As I mentioned, Jude already had years of experience under his belt at the highest level, even though he was barely out of his teenage years. It felt like a move which was impossible to fail. And so, has he lived up to the price tag? Well, in his first season, Bellingham wasn't just good, he was magic. First off, the numbers. By February, Bellingham had already scored 20 goals in all competitions, 16 in La Liga alone. And this isn't some striker we're talking about, he's a midfielder. To put that into perspective, David Beckham scored 20 goals during his entire 4 years at Real Madrid. But it wasn't just the goals, it was the moments. One standout performance, for example, came in February when Bellingham bagged 2 goals in a massive 4-0 win over Girona, one of Real Madrid's title rivals. It's stuff like that which made the fans fall in love. After all, the Santiago Bernabeu is a very tough crowd. These fans expect greatness. They demand it. They've been spoiled by some of football's biggest legends. But Jude, well, he's filling that superstar void perfectly, being compared to the likes of Zinedine Zidane. He also helped set up Vini Jr.'s winning goal in the Champions League final against former club Borussia Dortmund. But in spite of this, everything changed the next season following the arrival of Kylian Mbappe. When he arrived, everything changed up front. Suddenly, Real Madrid's attack had a new focal point. Now that shift pushed Bellingham into a deeper midfield role. As a result, Jude had less freedom. Where he was once running into the box, scoring goals and basically playing like a second striker, with Mbappe's arrival, a lot of that space that he was granted disappeared. As a result, the goals and assists did too. Instead of building around Bellingham's strengths, Madrid began funneling everything towards Mbappe, and the numbers reflect that. His goal scoring rate dropped significantly after Mbappe's arrival. Pair this with the fact that modern footballing fans began to view Jude Bellingham as a big-headed know-it-all acting up for the cameras type player, and well, some began taking a dislike to him completely. That being said, Jude's inevitability eventually kicked in. You see, Real Madrid began to experience a few injuries, but this allowed Carlo Ancelotti to revert more to the system that he used the year before. And so, just like that, Bellingham was back amongst the goals, finding the form which made him Madrid's star boy, something which was supposed to be the case for Eden Hazard. He cost Real Madrid an insane £130 million, making him their most expensive signing ever. Thus, he came in with expectations unlike anybody else. Coming into the club with an incredibly high reputation as one of Chelsea's all-time greats, fans hoped that he could become the next superstar of the club. In the Premier League, the ball would stick to Hazard's feet. He could score goals and create them. He was the exact kind of player Madrid were after following Ronaldo's departure. However, things didn't quite go to plan. Right from the get-go, things were bad. Hazard reportedly showed up to Madrid overweight and then got a thigh injury during pre-season, which kept him out at the start of his first season. It was still early days though, so fans still believed that once he was fully fit, Hazard would show why the club broke the bank for him. And well, eventually Hazard did start to look like his old self in November 2019 following a few key performances. But then disaster struck. In a Champions League game against Paris Saint-Germain later that month, Hazard suffered an injury that would change everything. After another strong performance, he was brought down by Thomas Meunier, resulting in a metal plate being inserted into his ankle to help it heal. In spite of this, Hazard would never be the same again. From then on, he was often injured and rarely played a full match. Furthermore, Madrid also had the younger players like Vini Jr and Rodrygo, who despite their age were already taking Hazard's spot in the team. And what you've got to remember is that before joining Madrid, Hazard hardly ever missed a game, and so I guess you could say that perhaps this contributed to long-term fatigue. But it's also fair to say that Hazard wasn't the most committed when it came to physical conditioning, as his teammates mentioned that they rarely saw him in the gym and he didn't stay longer at training than was necessary. In that sense, he was the total opposite of Cristiano Ronaldo, who even at the age of 40 is showing the importance of keeping healthy to ensure a long and successful career. As for Hazard, well, he called his disaster at Real Madrid to an end by announcing his retirement at just 32 years old. During the 4 years in Spain, Hazard recorded just 7 goals and added 12 assists in only 76 appearances. What's even more crazy is that even after his retirement, Real Madrid was still paying Chelsea for the transfer. Thus, it is no surprise that despite being their most expensive player ever, many regard him as their worst. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe, and ding that notification bell. And whilst you're at it, you may as well check this video on your screen right now, where I dissect every Ballon d'Or winner in the history of the sport.